Give me a moment to get set up here. Got a few lighters out here. Don't have anything specific going on today. Just hopping on to see who all's out there, what you might have going on. I'm out of decaf, so got a liquid IV this morning. Also still got this Zippo lighter that came in the package with the double torch butane insert. Probably open that up sooner or later. Maybe not today, maybe. We'll see. Butane lighter that's out of fuel. Got a couple of Cygnuses up here that we fueled up last week. I think it was Friday when were we on Friday? Oh, maybe it was Monday. No, it was Monday. Should have seen the video for this lighter on Saturday morning. Really nice painted finish. Really heavy feel to it. This is the Zoro copy of the Penguin Cygnus. Automatic Signis, actually. Fueled that up in the video. If you're in the chat, make sure and say hello. Let me know that you can hear me. If you're new to the chat or the live stream, let me know where you're from. I try to remember our regulars and where they're from. Got a decent memory, but some of it takes a few times to get it to stick in my head, but sooner or later I figure it out. We usually have folks from all over the world join us. Our buddy Naphtha from right up the road here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. To Indonesia and Denmark, places all over the United States, the UK. So make sure and let us know where you're from. If you're enjoying a cup of coffee, what you're having, whatever other kind of beverage. Maybe a soda. I know that the professor likes to drink root beer, and I do as well on occasion. It's difficult to find a root beer that I'm willing to drink these days, though, because all the sugar-free ones are seem to be sweetened with aspartame. I'd rather it be stevia, maybe even erythritol, than I would aspartame. Anyway, pretty nifty lighter here. One thing that I did notice after I got to looking at it the other day, the snuffer spring, where in the vintage Cygnus lighters it is a piston spring, which you can see in this 6-inch long model that we fueled up last Monday. I keep forgetting I got to raise the snuffer on that one. But you can see that that is operated by that piston spring. There's a little bit better look of it, or look at it. Where this Zoro copy is just a coil spring. I think that the piston spring is probably going to hold up better over time, and we'll see. We'll see. It's a good thing about it. Such an affordable and nice lighter is you can use it and just see how well it does hold up. It is very curious to me why they would stamp the number 666 onto that fuel screw. And I mentioned in the video that was published on Saturday that I'm not superstitious. Whatever, as a child of God, a follower of Jesus Christ, that number has no power over me. I'm not accepting any mark by using this lighter. But I just wonder what the purpose, what the thinking was. Whoever was in control, or... It says Zoro, that makes sense, that's the brand name. It says sealed. I understand that. Well, give me a moment. Dropped it out of there and straight onto the floor. So it says sealed, which makes sense because of the fact that it does seal it off against evaporation, you would think. But the number 666, I don't understand why you would... I don't really understand why you would want to put that on anything. You check the live chat here. The first one asks how much money. I can't see the name. It's a foreign alphabet to me. I can't pronounce that name. But this lighter here is not, I'm not actually selling it. This was given as a gift to me. These have been listed on eBay recently with shipping for about $27, $28. I can't remember exactly. It was our buddy Friedrich Dill who gave this one as a gift to me. I believe he ordered it off of AliExpress, and I don't know the price. We looked at them when we were on here one week, but I was never sure about what those prices. It was kind of confusing, the pricing that they had there on the AliExpress app or website or wherever we were at. Desmond Bennett, glad to have you with us today, sir. He says, I'm at work at the Stockton Metropolitan Airport. Awesome. Is that Stockton, California? Yeah, in California. There you go. We're glad to have you with us, Desmond. Are you a vintage lighter aficionado? Collector, repairman? Are you connected to the vintage lighter world in one way or another? And the other individual who's in there, you say, how much money did it cost me? It didn't cost me. It was a gift. But I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 on AliExpress. And like I said, you can find them on eBay. I've thought about writing an article about it and including an affiliate link there on the website, and I may do that actually later today. We'll see. I haven't looked to see if these are listed on Amazon, but either way, I'm an Amazon associate and an eBay partner, so I employ those affiliate links on our website, DependableFlame.com. Anytime you click through those links and make a qualifying purchase, then we receive a commission from that particular site. And that includes even our own lighters that we do sell, which here is an actual vintage Penguin Cygnus lighter that I plan to make a video of later today and hopefully get pictures taken, and I think go ahead and get this one listed for sale. Maybe not, I don't know, I haven't decided. Either way, I need to get the video made for it. But this is a Pan American Airlines advertising pocket lighter, full-size pocket lighter, Penguin Cygnus. Doesn't appear to have ever been lit. We dealt with the spare flint compartment, which had a degraded old flint in it, had turned to dust. Dealt with that, got it cleaned out. Hulk says maybe a batch number. You know, Hulk, if it was a batch number, then that would turn out not to be quite such a big deal. From what I noticed on eBay, the ones that I saw listed on eBay had that 666 stamped on them as well. So I think it is more like a model number, which, you know, whatever. Like I said, I'm not a superstitious person, so I know there are plenty of buildings here. I don't know if it's around the world or just in the United States, but they don't put a 13th story on most buildings. They skip it. You just go from 12th to 14th because people are scared of the number 13. Yes, I am reading the comments. You may have posted that right about the time I started reading the comments. If you don't mind, would you tell me how to pronounce your name? I'm not certain what the alphabet is, and I don't know how to pronounce your name. But yes, I am reading the comments, and I hope at this point you have heard me respond to you. But I'd like to at least know whether to be call you ma'am, sir, or your name, whatever it is you would like to be called. Hulk says, very true. I'm not sure what he was saying that about. It's probably been a few minutes ago now. Mark Burris, glad to have you with us today, sir. I don't believe you made it last week. Always glad when you can join us. J.U., glad to have you with us. Which one were you asking for me to use? The Signis, J.U.? I have used it a few times now, but I can use it a few more times just to hopefully give you what you're asking for. The operation of it is that when the thumb roller has pressure applied, then it has a little catch there that holds on to the snuffer. So when you apply the pressure, then it releases that, and if you can do that all at the same time, then you have your automatic ignition. Technically semi-automatic because you still have to close it. Pretty nifty though. And it's had fuel in it now for a week and still lighting up. Maybe waning just a bit there, but definitely a full week's worth. And I fueled this up last Monday afternoon, late Monday afternoon, and I have lit it most days several times, at least probably 5 to 10 times a day. We'll do some further tests of its fuel economy and all that kind of stuff later. But so far I'm happy with it. I love it. It's a beautiful lighter. Viljami's locked up, but something, my video is locked up. Okay, I hope I'm back. I don't know what caused that to lock up there. I apologize. I checked before I started here and made sure that we were connected to Wi-Fi. And it looks like we definitely lost a few of you, so I'm not sure if that was a result of it knocked us all off, but anyway. Looking back at the chat, we've got Viljami Saponin with us again. Hulk says yes, model number makes sense. Mark says, I love my Zoro 915S built like a tank. The hinge on the 915s won't break. That's a flip top Zippo type lighter. Maybe more akin to some of the, like the hinges on the Zephyr and some of those, maybe even the Berkeley's. Seemed like those hinges were quite a bit more secure than some of the others. If you're talking about the one I think you're talking about, Mark. "30 minutes too late." Yeah, it happens. I'm hopping on a little bit earlier today than is typical, but I just had the opportunity of got my Jeep in the shop, and hopefully it should be out today. Had some repairs that a little bit more involved than I was capable of doing, without a garage or anything to really comfortably take the car apart. So, have some spare time this morning, thought I'd hop on and see what you guys were up to. I did mention that we fueled this one up, and several times this week as I've been fiddling around with these lighters and picked up the Zoro Cygnus and actuate that mechanism, then I would pick up this long Cygnus PanAm Advertiser and just roll it like I expected the snuffer on it to come up. So it's funny how you can so quickly become accustomed to thinking that something will operate a certain way. But I'm kind of curious how long this one will hold its fuel as well. Doing pretty good there for a week, so better than most full-size Cygnus lighters, but of course can't remember now how much fuel this one held. 4.5, 5, something like that, maybe 5, 4.5. I'd have to go back and watch. Wasn't quite, well, no, maybe it wasn't that much. Maybe it was yeah, because about 2.5 is what you'll normally get in a full-size Cygnus, so yeah, maybe it was about 4.5. It wasn't quite double, I don't think. So you'd think that maybe a couple of weeks. I don't have any comments since it came back online here. You guys make sure and let me know that if there's a problem, if you can't hear me. That's a really nice lighter though that was listed at a really affordable price, and I made them an offer of about 2/3. They accepted it. The pin screw here that goes through the roller in the listing photos was backed out. But by the time it arrived, it had been threaded back in. And like I said, we had to deal with the degraded old flint. The wick looks like it's basically new. Just maybe some dust contamination. The chimney area was, I think it had some rusty type contamination and corrosion, whatever you would call it, but wasn't any evidence that this lighter had ever been lit. Does have some imperfections, scratches, scuffs, dings, but a really nice gold anodized aluminum block lighter. Hello, True Blackout. Glad to have you with us. He talking about this one? Not quite an antique technically, but definitely vintage. Probably, well, older than me most likely. From the 60s, I would guess, maybe 50s. To truly be an antique, it needs to be 100 years old. Yeah, it didn't hold as much as I thought it would, Mark. You can go back and watch it in last week's stream. I think it was less than 5. I was thinking it would, double, because it's actually quite a bit longer. So it's like over 2 times the length or height, however you want to call that. But I don't think it held quite twice as much. Glad to have you with us, True Blackout. I don't remember you being with us before. You guys that are new, let us know what you're interested in. What made you interested in Petrol lighters or vintage lighters, whatever your particular niche. Some folks that all they want to talk about is Zippos. There's others that only want to talk about Petrol lighters. But, we'll pretty much talk about any Petrol lighter. That's me for the most part. There's others that'll talk about any kind of lighter and repairing any of them. Butane lighters. I don't repair butane lighters. I don't really talk about repairing butane lighters. I use them. So you will get shown one occasionally, but you'll never see or at least thus far, a repair video on this channel for a butane lighter. But everybody's got their own areas of interest, so always interested to see what it is that people enjoy about the hobby. Yeah, the skyscraper model. It's pretty tall. There was an actual Cygnus skyscraper lighter too, in the shape of the PanAm building, I believe. Blackout says it's his first time here. Glad to have you. Coin Slots and Joysticks says, hey guys, glad to have you. Is that a channel? Coin Slots and Joysticks? Is that a vintage video game channel? That sounds cool. I'm not a big video game person myself, but when I was a kid, I played plenty of Atari. Says, you don't know the names. Can you tell me what name brands I haven't been able to name for you? Sir or ma'am, CTV? And it looks like I may have been knocked off. line again. Okay, hopefully we're back. I got people trying to call. Okay. Seems like CTV, whoever you are, has an axe to grind with me today. Says, see dude, you don't even know the names. You can't even name brands. What name brand did I not name? I didn't realize that you were quizzing me, CTV. He says, the most common collectible antique lighters is a Ronson. Do you have any Ronsons? I do have some Ronsons. I just had one on the screen. And this is just one that I use. And not one of the more collectible Ronsons either. I do have some other Ronson lighters in the other room. I've sold many Ronson lighters. Let me respond here so that hopefully I don't get another call on my phone to knock us offline. Okay, coin slots and joysticks. He says it was going to be, but I haven't yet. Well, you ought to, man. That's especially if you've got the games. That'd be an awesome channel. Come up with that channel, and I'll make a video promoting you for sure. That would be a nice thing to have. Anything vintage. There's all kinds of. It's kind of amazing to me the number of people who have vintage lighters to show off that don't. Or maybe they show them off in Facebook groups, or maybe even just on Facebook, but they haven't ventured over to YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, or any of the other places. But plenty of places to gather with like-minded people who appreciate old lighters. Even if we don't know the brands the way that CTV would want us to. The next comment says, wouldn't you want to actually become a professional and learn something and become educated so you could be superior and teach other people your knowledge instead of lying to fill your head of dopamine? Well, CTV, I would just suggest, I'm not sure what you think I'm lying about. And I never claimed to be an expert, but there's a website over here, DependableFlame.com. If you click on the categories where it says lighters, there's also some fiction I've written there. There's also some articles about cannabis and Huntington's disease awareness, and also a few articles on some tips on how to sell on eBay. But again, I've never claimed to be an expert, but I have written over 100,000 words on this website. So I might know a brand or two, or maybe even be a little bit more professional than you think I am. But that's fine. I'm not sure what I did to upset you, CTV, but it's all good here, my friend. Yeah, I certainly have my flaws and make mistakes. No doubt about that, Mark. I'm kind of at a loss. I wish I knew if I made a comment today that triggered CTV. Yeah, I hear you, coin slots. I hear what you're saying as well. It's just that my entire YouTube experience, and these live streams also have been such a good experience. You know, there's occasionally somebody who gets in the comment section and is upset about something or complaining about a video, or, you know, maybe the sound wasn't so great in some of the older videos. People used to complain about that. But then there's, you know, sometimes there's just rude people. But it's pretty rare. It's really rare. But especially here in the live stream, we have had, I mean, little to no problems. A little bit of spam that we've had to deal with here and there, and I've made certain regulars admin so that they could help me deal with that as it occurred. But I don't even remember the last time that I deleted a spam link that somebody put up or comment or whatever it was. But whatever it is that CTV is upset about, I would love to talk about it, and if I've offended you, I would love to figure out what I did to offend you so that I could keep from doing that in the future, if that's possible. You know, I understand that sometimes people are just going to get offended, but I would never do that on purpose. And I will say as well, CTV, is as far as the functionality of Petrol lighters, I'm perfectly comfortable with what my knowledge is and what I put out there. I have stated publicly, it's not fun to me to chase down patents and all that kind of stuff. It's not something that really interests me. So I'm glad to see it when I can see those things, but I'm not that kind of researcher. I like to tinker around with these little old machines and get them to make fire again. And, you know, I'm here to spread the joy of that. Vintage Codger, glad to have you with us. Yeah, I think he's already gone. Like I said, though, in general, any time that if I have genuinely offended somebody and I can correct something, if it's just a quirk in my behavior, well then of course I would like to do that. But yeah, I don't want to dwell on it either. You guys got any lighter projects that you want to talk about today? Anything you're planning? Coin slots and joysticks. How far have you gotten down the road of planning your channel? You thought about what kind of videos, and I guess you can probably play those kind of games on today's equipment to where you could record and all that kind of stuff just like you do, like they do on what do you call it, Discord, or I can't remember the names, wherever the video game, well there's plenty of it on YouTube too, I guess, people putting up videos of them playing a video of them playing a video game. Hello, Juan Yankee. Is that Juan Yankee says or One Yankee says? Is that a play on the word one? The Yankees have won a lot. One Yankee says, have to get my collection back out so I can enjoy it. Yeah, you should. Are you a user of your lighters, One Yankee? Anything 70s and 80s, not only games. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's called coin slots and joysticks. You could, yeah, that creates a general vibe for sure. That'd be a great channel. Yeah, you could go all kinds of places, like you said, 70s, 80s, video games, but not just, I mean, there's plenty of other things that would apply to coin slots other than just video games. But like I said, the coin slots and joysticks really kind of creates a vibe. Hello, Professor. Glad to have you with us this morning, sir. Had a hiccup or two already. Got kicked off once or twice. But I think we're good. One Yankee says, no, don't like the fuel in my smoking material. I've heard that complaint before. It's not something that really bothers me. I've sucked plenty of Petrol flames down into the bowl of a marijuana pipe. And yeah, the taste of that Petrol flame or even a Bick flame, neither one has ever, I don't feel like, has affected or bothered me. Glad you made it with us again, Professor. 2 in a row. Excuse me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I should go ahead and make you, I thought, I would have figured that you were, Mark. There you go, Mark. Yeah, no sweat, Professor. Just glad you're able to join us. Any way around it. Are you able to listen in the car? Do you hook your phone up with YouTube up through your? Most cars these days, Bluetooth. Bluetooth is the way I connect in my car. Yeah. So yeah, I really wish it didn't say 666. I wish they had, made it 656 or 566 or 667. But, I don't really like that it's branded Zoro either, so. I will say though, I got one comment which I still haven't responded to over the weekend on the video for this lighter, and it may have been Alex or Alexei Nemov, however you pronounce the name. I could be wrong about who it was, but I think that's who it was. And he started it by saying, "You Americans are always afraid." And I'm not afraid of the fact that this wasn't made in America. What I don't like is that you take old designs of lighters and then start making new ones. But the caveat with that would be with this Zoro, and I think with all of the Zoros, there's enough of a difference that you can tell, and you will tell, because they're clearly marked. I think the bigger danger is the thorns, which apparently are now being made, maybe even in the same factory as these lighters. Not sure if we talked about that or not. If Friedrich joins us or Olar, those guys know a little bit more about that stuff than I do. But anyway, this is clearly differently marked. It's not even marked Cygnus or Penguin. It's just marked Zoro with an offensive number. And then the mechanism is recognizable as the Signis. So I don't really have a problem with this. I think that whoever had the patent on the original Signuses is probably no longer in effect anyway. I don't think anybody's being harmed by Zoro making this lighter. I do think that it's possible that there's with some of the ways that some of the Imcos are marked, and even the thorns, if there's any confusion about the old or the new and the way they're marked, then yeah, I wouldn't be down with that. I think they should be clearly marked, but individual parts of the lighter, it's going to be hard to keep track of what's new and what's not. But if this were, you know, like if this were a Zippo, then you would probably call this more like the vintage look. This is more like a reimagining. It's not an exact copy. The hinge spring is different. But the thumb roller flint tension mechanism, that seems to be identical. I don't know if it's exactly to scale or not, but at some point we may find out. Yeah, there you go. Bluetooth connected to the car. Your license plate has 666 in it. Yeah. I can remember once going as a teenager, and I was superstitious as a teenager, but I can remember going to McDonald's. It seems like on a Friday night after a football game, and my total coming to $6.66. Yeah, probably lit it since you asked that, Bill Jami, but I will light it again. It is cool how it's, I mean, it's not exactly one motion. Well, you can kind of make it one motion. Maybe a little bit more difficult when the flint is new before you really get it grooved smoothly. And I am curious how that coil spring will hold up over time compared to the piston spring that was in the original. I think that's going to have a tendency to lose tension, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. And we also, maybe in the comments, talked about the finish. I don't remember, it was the fellow that joined us a couple of weeks ago bought the Cygnus lighter, the short Cygnus Advertiser. His name is Sabbath something. But he commented underneath the video on this lighter that was published on Saturday talking about the finish. And it seems to me to be sealed in really nice. I mean, you don't feel any light fell off the table. You don't feel any transition from the paint. We'll see. But I think if the lacquer or whatever it is that is sealing it, this clear coat of whatever, I think if that cracked or breaks or however it were to lose its seal, then you're going to see it tarnish underneath. I think that that's probably just brass. Just polished brass that then is sealed with the painted finish. Take it easy, coin slots. Join us again. I look forward to seeing your channel if you do start posting videos. I think that'd be a great idea for a channel. Let me know if you start posting videos. Yeah, I think that, you know, there's such a not taboo, that's the wrong word, but there's such a negative connotation to what people call Zippo knockoffs, that when Zoro started putting out those lighters, you just think, okay, it's just another cheap Asian-made lighter. But then you start looking at all the variations and improvements that they're trying to make, and now, you know, that seems like a worthwhile cause to me. And then they start putting out other lighters that are similar or identical to other older mechanisms. But like I said, if nobody's being injured here by owning a patent that is being infringed upon, if it's just a matter of it being marked correctly or, you know, appropriately, so you know that this is a new version, I do think that there's some, there could be some negative aspects if the components are identical and to scale, and they'll go interchangeably from an old lighter, new lighter to an old lighter. Then yes, you could have some issues there. Somebody thinking they've got a completely original vintage lighter that has new parts in it. Anyway, for the most part, I think it's a really well executed idea for basically a replica lighter. And we'll see how the finish holds up, because I'm going to try to treat it as well as possible. I'm going to try to only put it in a pocket by itself, not carry it with keys or wallet or anything like that. And we'll just see how well that finish holds up. And whether even the use and manipulating the flint screw and all that kind of stuff, is that going to make the paint wear in spots? Yeah, I think that burgundy is the right, I mean, it's really dark. It's a really dark red. If you don't have light on it, it's hard to, it looks even darker than it is. But yeah, I think it's a lacquered. I had a really nice, I think it was a, no, maybe not. It was in a bellow. I made a video a long time ago, several years ago now, about this butane lighter that I had that I would really like to have another one of. I can't remember who it was now, and I wouldn't say their name if I did, because I'm not trying to put somebody on the spot, but one of our regular viewers at the time got on and said they had one, and that they'd be getting with me, and I can't remember. It was like they had a certain time when they were going to be digging into their collection, and they would tell me what they had, and they never got back to me. But it was I believe a bellow. I can't remember the model name, but it was a roller lighter, butane, and it had a soft yellow flame. But it had this similar kind of finish. I have to go pull out one of those old videos where it had, part of it was painted. I think it was a tortoise finish on a gold tone background. And over time, that lighter got damaged, and when that clear coat started peeling off, it was literally like it was almost like it was encased in just a super thin layer of clear, thick, like heavy, not really thick, but like heavy duty clear plastic or something. Coinslot said he's off to check to estate sales. That's why I told him we'll see him later. Let me know when he creates his or starts posting videos. Viljami asked, "What is my oldest Zippo?" And I don't have a lot of Zippos, Viljami. The oldest that I have had was late 1930s. I've owned 3 black Crackles. I've owned several 1940s. 3 barrels. You can go back and look at our older videos and see some of those, but you know, I'm not primarily a collector. I'm primarily a seller. Hello, Lee Key Bum 1965. Glad to have you with us. And he says, "Hi, can I ask you a question?" I would love for you to ask a question. Lee Key Bum, that's why I'm here. So please, yes, ask away. Professor says someone commented on one of my videos that Zoro was just the factory and that production point in Asia for Zippo at one point. Yeah, I think I've heard something similar to that, Professor. Mark Burris says it's like the process for making Sanmai laminated steels. The process is ages old, but Lynn Thompson of Cold Steel produced stainless Sanmai and had the name patented here in the U.S. Huh. Yeah, I had no idea about particular kinds of stainless steel. So are you talking about, it's like the process for making laminated steels. Is that laminated like after they have worked it? Explain that to me, Mark. What's laminated steel? Hello, Coffee Junkie. Glad to have you with us again. I hope you're enjoying that lighter. Was it the Zippo with the Sphinx on it? Viljami says, wow. I'm not sure what he's saying wow about. Yeah, that's I love seeing those old lighters, and I can't remember now. I know I had looked up whatever that regiment was, but I can't remember if I found anything. But it seems like somebody here last week or the week that you bought that lighter mentioned that it was was it a British unit? Oh, for the old Zippos. Gotcha. Yeah, I had a 1930s that had a replacement 5-barrel hinge. That was kind of cool, but you know, if you're going to have a 1930s, you really want it to have the original hinge, which I think in most cases at that point would have been a 4-barrel. But, you know, still nice to own that old case, and it was a newer insert in it as well. But the black Crackles are cool. I've said it before, though, if for anybody who wants to own a black Crackle, it really shouldn't be all that. Shouldn't be something that people look at and think of as out of their reach. Because for one thing, if you're willing to spend, I'd say $150, you can probably be patient. And for one that's not in great condition, but also not terrible, you can probably find one that's been identified as a World War II Black Crackle Zippo that you can buy in that price range. But if you're willing to look and be patient, even more patient, and look even harder, you can find them in big groups of lighters. They're there. It's just a matter of how many other people recognize it, and are they willing to bid more than you are. So, but black Crackles are definitely cool. It's definitely cool. It's cool to find one, but it's not the hardest thing in the world to find. Not the hardest thing in the vintage lighter world to find, for sure. Coffee Junkie says he's enjoying the Zippo very much. A knife steel in 3 layers to make it more durable. So are you saying that there is lacquer somehow in those layers of steel? I probably sound really ignorant right now, but that seems incredible to me. And I guess they've even figured out ways to impregnate metal with different components, or trying to give you a good view of that finish. Killer Zombie 359, glad to have you with us. He says, show me your favorite lighter. I can show you one of my favorite lighters, or a few of my favorite lighters. I'll just show you a few of them. How about Killer Zombie 359. How about my newest favorite lighter? That would be the Cygnus. This really elaborate artwork of a dragon. But that is not my favorite. That's just my newest favorite. Probably my favorite would be this one, which was a gift from my daughter and son-in-law. I think for my birthday last year. This is a flip-top Petrol lighter made by Crestcraft with an emblem of an Army soldier at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which is where my dad went to basic training. That may well be my very favorite. This is a favorite also, though. Emerald green penguin Signis. Really like that one. All these Signuses are functional. All of my lighters are functional. If it's not, then I'm just not really... Sooner or later, if I can't repair it, then I'm going to move it on for parts, use it for parts, whatever. It's not going to be part of my collection if it's not a functioning lighter. Pink one. Really cool with these anodized aluminum lighters that you get such cool colors. Here's a hot pink with a watch or clock. And I need to find somebody to repair that watch or clock. Hopefully it can be repaired. It's a really cool one. But again, to keep that in my collection, I'm definitely going to need the watch to be working. Otherwise, I will probably just sell this for, at some point under the, making note that the watch does not work. This channel is about repairing old Petrol lighters, not about fixing old watches or clocks. I'm ignorant of that. It's an automatic version, a vintage automatic version. Doesn't have fuel in it, of course, but the thumb roller release is the same, and we do have a little bit different guess you don't exactly have the piston spring in these automatic versions. So that is a further comparison to make. Oh, I am a Calvinist, absolutely. Are you making an argument about intelligent design? I am absolutely a Calvinist. Not because I have an affinity for John Calvin or anything like that, but just basically because he laid those points, those biblical points out in a way that is, well, probably there had been others that had made those same points, but for him to have the TULIP, is that an acronym? I'm trying to think of the right word. Definitely he took some biblical thoughts and organized them in a way that had not been done before. I've taken the table lighters out of here that were gifts to me. I've got some others. Here's a pretty cool Zippo. I don't have any old Zippos now, but here is a 1990s. Can't remember the exact year. This is a tour merchandise gift from Matthew McConaughey on the set of the movie Ed TV. And that's a used lighter. And I can't remember how much I paid for it. At some point that lighter may be for sale, I don't know. Really bought it because I knew my wife would think it was cool. She doesn't usually care about any of this lighter stuff, but sure one that Matthew McConaughey probably had his hands on at some point. And yeah. Resonates a little bit more. Okay, hold on. I misspoke. I'm having twisting my W's and my R's. Professor's Garage says you might try reaching out to Wristwatch Revival to see about getting that. Is that a YouTube channel? Looks like I missed some others up here. Mark says it's a knife steel in 3 layers to make it more durable. He says it's forge welded together, softer on outside, harder steel in the middle. It will take some heavy abuse without snapping, like chopping, etc. Interesting. Killer Zombie says those are brilliant. I'm assuming he's talking about the lighters I was showing. One Yankee says I've got some Militaria lighter, one my dad's from Vietnam with Dawn corn on it. Yeah, that's cool. Anytime you got a lighter that is related to a loved one, and as far as my dad, my dad passed back in 2017 from Huntington's disease, and that's been a big part of this channel and what we do, because we've sent 10% of every auction, every listing, not just the auctions, but all the listings going to HDSA, Huntington's Disease Society of America. Currently, they're going to the Huntington's Youth Organization of America because the Huntington's Disease Society of America has let their paperwork lapse with eBay, with the eBay charity program. So, but we've always done 10% to HDSA, and then we also at times run auctions where all of it goes to the charity. But for me to have received this lighter as a gift, like I said, I think it was last year on my birthday from my daughter and son-in-law. It was really special. I've got several lighters in my personal collection that were gifts, and I appreciate them all. But this being related to my dad, it's a really cool and thoughtful gesture. It's actually my son-in-law that hunted it down and heard me talking about it on a video, and went on eBay and found it, and they gave it to me for my birthday. So really cool. But I've got several others. Some that are worth something, some that are really just sentimental value to me. Ford lighter for my dad. Been kind of lax answering comments on the website lately, and when I got on yesterday I saw that there was one from a guy, and he had mentioned the Ford connection. Me talking about my old man on there. There's a 100 Pipers double-sided advertiser, Park Industries advertiser. These are all in my personal collection. Most of these that I'm showing you now are ones that I bought that it was because of, those two were because of my uncle. Well, the Smirnoff's because of my dad, the 100 Piper's because of my uncle. And then, of course, the ATF badge Moonshine Kills Park lighter. Really kept that lighter so long because it gives me the opportunity to talk about alcoholism and the poison that alcohol is. And I understand there's plenty of people that can drink it and handle it and be just fine, but there's a certain part of the population that probably should never start it. And certainly if you find yourself having to apologize to your family and friends on a regular basis, or having to explain stupid things that you've done when you were drunk, then you might want to quit drinking. It's probably not good for you. And it definitely was not good for me. And shamefully, it only took me about 17 years to figure that out. So hopefully you don't have to go through the same heartache that I do, realizing that alcohol is bad for you. You say, one Yankee says, were or are there any watchmakers that made lighters? Yeah, I'm sure that there were some. Probably independent jewelers that might have done both. But I can't think of a name right now. So maybe somebody else can think of a name. Oh yeah, that's cool. Like old safety razors, Gillette, that kind of thing. It's a sort of crossover collection or collectible item. It's like knives. When you collect lighters, when you buy a lot of old lighters, you come into contact with a lot of knives and watches and those kind of things. Killer Zombie 359 says, appreciate you showing those, man. You've earned a sub from Ireland. So here I was talking earlier about Indonesia and all the folks here in the United States and the UK and Denmark. And so now we can add Ireland to that. So I appreciate that, Killer Zombie 359. You use bourbon and vodka in hot sauces, huh? Yeah, I've cooked with wine. I got no problem using those kind of things. I actually had a non-alcoholic beer, or had a few non-alcoholic beers last week. I noticed at the liquor store that they had a non-alcoholic Blue Moon. So I had a few non-alcoholic Blue Moons last week with a lemon wedge squeezed into the top of them. Bronze Era Razor. You'd have to explain to me a little bit more what that means, one Yankee. Are we talking centuries ago? That sounds a little bit older than Gillette when you say Bronze Era. If anybody watches this, anybody's out there watching or watches it once it is posted there on the channel, let me know what other Zoro lighters that you have experience with. Mark mentioned earlier, I think the 915S. But whatever Zoro lighters that you've had experience with and what kind of review you would give them. I know ZF77 Outdoors has done several review videos on the different inserts. Some of their inserts have snuffers. They've got butane inserts, I think. I'm not going to disassemble this lighter right now. And we talked about in the video that the screwdriver in the underneath the fuel screw would help you take the roller out. And that's not the way that the old automatics were put together. So I am kind of curious to maybe take that apart at some point and see. But is that works? That, I guess that's, oh no, the hinge. That was the other place. If you could use that to disassemble the whole hinge assembly. So we will probably do that at some point, but not today. Celtic bronze razor. Wow. Yeah, that sounds old. Interesting. Never thought about that. Are you you cooking the alcohol out of those, or are you just using it in them? So this lighter didn't get fueled until last Monday afternoon, where this one got fueled during our live stream, which was, I don't know, from about 10:30 to 12:30 or so. It's still got fuel in it. I've lit it enough this week, and it has missed enough that it seems like maybe, depending on where you hold it, if you jerk the lighter around as you strike it, you could cause it to not ignite. It feels like it has not been as efficient igniting as most of my other Cygnus pocket lighters. But you know, it's kind of, if you're holding it back a little bit, as you strike it, you can really jerk it around. I think the more stable it's being held, the more efficient it is. Got some clocks over there that I still haven't changed for the time change. A few ounces in a gallon, huh? Yeah, that sounds, I don't know. I know they use alcohol for a lot of the different cannabis processing, but I don't know how exactly some of those tinctures, I don't know how that all works. I don't know if if it's always boiled off or evaporated off, or if some of those tinctures you can taste the alcohol in. And of course, alcohol works as a great solvent cutting through cannabis oil. So that's how I'd use isopropyl, 91% isopropyl, to clean my dab straws. Yeah, I get that. I was pretty thrilled to see that. I think we talked about that on here last week. If not, I know I talked about it with my buddy Shane, who joins us sometimes. Maybe later that day. But then I went into the liquor store and to get wine, and just happened to look in the cooler, and they had. I figured if I was going to find a good non-alcoholic beer, I would have to order it. I didn't figure I'd be able to walk in someplace locally and find it cold. So, I'm thrilled to find that, and it's really good too. Hello, Christus. Glad to have you with us. Just fiddling with a Zoro copy of a Penguin Cygnus Petrol lighter. This is a Zoro lighter, which is pretty close copy. See if I can find one. Pretty close copy of a vintage Penguin Cygnus aluminum block lighter. So this Zoro is not aluminum block lighter. I believe it's brass. The really nice painted and sealed finish. Maybe that's what the sealed means on the fuel screw. I assumed that the sealed meant I was talking about the seal on the fuel screw, but the finish is also, or at least appears to be sealed. Pretty nice. But this is a new manufacturer lighter of basically a copy of this old aluminum block lighter. So the aluminum block lighter is very light, but the mechanisms are the same. And this is just the standard version, where this is the auto version, but they made auto versions of the old one as well. So this is the auto version of the vintage Penguin Cygnus. This is the auto version of the Zoro, which for whatever reason has the number 666 stamped on the bottom. But a really nice working lighter. Looks exactly like you would think it would and should. And so far has held fuel for almost a week. I'm not a heavy smoker. Don't really even smoke much cannabis anymore. Mostly just dabbing with dab straws. Live rosin, live resin, that kind of stuff. So I don't get the chance to actually use it as much as I would, but I did light this one several times just because it was new, and sitting here and lit up with that full size, or not full size, the extra long Cygnus Advertiser for Pan American Airlines. The light here is, I have to come up with some better portable lights here for the video set. Anyway, the lighter that I was actuating is a newly manufactured Zoro, not to be confused with the older Penguin Cygnus. Are you familiar with old lighters, Christus? Are you a vintage lighter enthusiast? And what brought you to the live stream today as well? So I'm not sure what videos I might already have that I just need to edit. But whatever videos that I may already have published, or not published, but recorded, that just need to be edited, you may see those throughout the week. I think this coming Saturday I will publish another video on this lighter, but compare it with the Cygnuses. We'll see. Maybe, maybe not. I may We may make the video for this lighter be the one that gets published this Saturday. Those are the two videos that I've got on my agenda for today, so we'll see. Constantly forgetting what I've got recorded already, so I'll just have to go back and check the devices. I know I have a repair video. I robbed the gasket off of this plain silver tone to put on another lighter that I sold. True Blackout says, how does the lighter extinguish the fire from the wick? You're asking how when it's lit, how you put it out. It's just basically the snuffer. In order to have the fire, you need fuel, you need oxygen, and you need a spark or heat. So once you snuff it and take away the oxygen, then it just puts out the fire. I hope that's what you're asking me. I'm not trying to be condescending. Is that basically what you're asking me, True Blackout, is the mechanics of how the Petrol lighter works? I mean, I guess every lighter is going to work that way, but with a butane lighter, there are other variables that can come into play, where with the fuel being what it is, not overly volatile, then, you know, even if you spill some out, then it's, even if you've got fuel on your finger, then you can usually just put it out. It's not like petrol fuel is extremely dangerous. You can usually snuff it pretty easy. But it also makes for a relatively simple ignition, in that having those three things present, there are some variables like the position of the file wheel to the wick, the way that the wick sets inside the chimney so that fuel vapors are able to come up and basically not be choked out. The shape of your whole ignition area so that there is room for fuel vapors and oxygen to mix then with the spark to cause the flame. You know, there are variables, but it's a relatively elementary design, a relatively simple way to make fire, to provide the spark, the fuel, and the oxygen. And then, of course, you've got mechanisms that either bring those things about or take them away. So the snuffer, when you close it, it takes away the oxygen, puts out the flame. You've got your mechanism here that gives you the tension on the flint. You've got the file roller that grinding against the flint stone causes the spark to begin with. So it's just a little machine with these little processes taking place, all working together to give you fire in your pocket. Hello, Junior Knife Collector. Glad to have you with us again. True Blackout says he's only used the Bick. Yeah, you mentioned Bick earlier, but yeah, it's I know in some places of the world maybe it's more difficult to find lighters like these. Maybe Bicks are all that you've got, or basically all that you've got, you know, available to you. Our buddy Azrael in Indonesia has talked about Bick lighters a lot. I'm not a big proponent of Bick lighters. My main thing is Petrol lighters, but whatever it is that you want to collect, whatever it is that's cool to you, special to you, reminiscent, gives you warm, nostalgic feelings. I have used plenty of Bick lighters in my life. So, it is what it is. I just prefer, at this point in time, not to contribute to the overuse of plastic more than is necessary. I would like to promote the repair of old items as opposed to throwing them away and buying a new one. Hello, Lucas. Glad to have you join us. Well, I suppose that would depend on how you what it is exactly your delivery method that you're trying to use that lighter to heat there, Lucas. I have no experience with trying to use what you use, so I don't know whether it would work for that or not. But as far as my use, I'm assuming you were asking about the Petrol lighter. Like I said, I use it when I take a walk. I'll use it to light up a joint. But a Petrol lighter flame will not sufficiently heat up a dab straw. So for that reason, I need butane torch lighters. We've talked about that a lot in the past. That's why I use the Zippo double torch butane insert. That's my #1 dab straw heater these days. And then of course I've got a dozen or so jet lights around the house. This is the newest one that I bought at Dollar General 6 months or so ago for $5. And you just can't beat these lighters for $5. Bronson jet light. Oh, I didn't assume that you did use it, Lucas. I assumed that you were either trying to give me a hard time or just being funny. I just didn't want to say it. I'm not trying to get anybody to misunderstand and think I'm trying to give pointers on how to use that particular product. That, just like with tobacco, I don't really think I don't think it's a good idea for anybody to be smoking tobacco. I would say the same thing about the substance that you mentioned, only even more so. But I am glad you joined us, Lucas, for sure. And I've got an errand to run here about noon, so we'll probably get off here in a moment. I was kind of surprised this last, maybe it was even Friday, that this was still fueled from well over a week before. It's run out now. This double torch Zippo insert has at times seemed like it doesn't hold enough fuel to even really be usable, but kind of come around on it. I pretty much purge it each time I refill it, and it still seems like I have to, I'm refilling this thing all the time, but it works well enough that it's worth the trouble. But the Ronson jet lights are good too. Definitely good to have, if nothing else, for a backup. So One Yankee, you say you've been rolling your own for over 20 years? Talking about your own tobacco cigarettes? I just got a battery warning, so I put my hand out there to make sure that we were still live. I've rolled plenty of marijuana cigarettes, but usually with the aid of a little rolling machine, because my hands are bad enough that I can't really cut it. I don't have the dexterity to. I came to the game too late. Don Juan asks if that is a DuPont in the back. See which one you're talking. Are you talking about this one? The tall one? Don Juan? Glad to have you with us, by the way, Don Juan. And this is a Penguin Cygnus. I have actually never owned a DuPont. I've owned a copy or two. I've got one that looks like a DuPont butane lighter that my son gave me. That is also a Penguin Cygnus. This is a Zoro, which is sort of a copy of the Penguin Cygnus. But I wouldn't think that, I would think if you thought that looked like anything, it might look more like a Dunhill. Especially with the painted finish. It's a good lighter. It's a cool lighter. And not vintage. Brand new manufacturer. Yeah, I like it a lot, Don Juan. This one was a gift from our buddy Friedrich Deal. I believe he bought it on AliExpress. Didn't take long for him to get it. When he told me he was ordering it, I thought it might take a few months, but it was within just a couple of weeks he had it and had it forwarded to me. We were just talking about it here a couple of weeks ago. And now here I got it in my hand. But I would definitely say they're worth the money. Not excessively priced like you see with some of the copies. Some of those that you see on Amazon, $60 for a new copy of a Ronson Standard. You could buy these right now. There's, last time I looked, there were a couple of these, maybe the black one and the red, or not Amazon, on eBay, for $20, or they were, both of them had been in auctions where they started at $20 with $7.95 shipping, about 28 bucks. One of them sold. The last couple that I'd seen did not sell. So I'd definitely give it an A+. I don't have, like I said, I don't really have the misgivings about this lighter that I would about it if it was marked Penguin Cygnus. I don't think they're trying to confuse anybody. I think they're just maybe just fan of old mechanisms like we are. Got all kinds of noises going on in here. That's the first time I've dropped that. Of course, if I'm going to break that seal on the finish, that could definitely contribute. So I hope it's tough. I'm sure that won't be the last time I drop it. You know, actually, the only Zippo that I have out here in front of me, I talked about this Crestcraft earlier, Don Juan, that was a gift from my son-in-law and daughter. It's an old promotional lighter for Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which is where my dad went to basic training back in 1970, 1971. But here's a Zippo that was actually a gift from one of our viewers, one of our subscribers, one of our old pals, Gavin Lannon. Gavin watched a video that we published, and in that video I had included a screen recording, and during that I had typed in my keyboard on my iPad, and when I did, it brought up some autocorrect options, which included my personal email address, which had my full name, Joseph Dwayne Hudson. Gavin had this lighter, which had been repaired by Zippo, and still had the sticker on it, and he just didn't know what he was going to do with it, just had it sitting there in his collection when he saw what my whole name was and said that he believed that this lighter was mine. So he sent it to me, and of course Gavin has sent some other gifts, many other gifts over the last few years, and one of the great friends of this channel. And I found something last year that I was able to thank him with that I was really glad to have found and be able to pass on to him. So it really is a terrific hobby, and it's funny how people realize that you collect a certain lighter or other things about you, and next thing you know, you're getting lighters in the mail. It really is a lot of genuine camaraderie, the shared interests of these little fire-making machines. It's certainly more of a community than I really expected before I became part of it. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. Got an errand I need to run here at noon, and I don't want the battery to run out on me. But we will plan on doing this for the time being every Monday, maybe one of the other days. I watch a couple of my grandkids on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so try to work in another stream here and there on a Tuesday or Friday sometime, but we'll try to keep Monday as our regular day. But I appreciate all of you. We've had a lot of new people with us today. Christus, True Blackout, One Yankee Says, we had Killer Zombie 359, then we had a bunch of people, Coin Slots and Joysticks, Bill Jami Saponin, who had been with us last time, The Professor's Garage, Mark Burris, Coffee Junkie, Don Juan. Appreciate all you guys joining us. The name back at the beginning that I could not pronounce because it was in a different alphabet. If you get a hold of me and let me know how to pronounce your name, I'd love to say it next time. Desmond Bennett, J.U. Hulk, and of course CTV. But you guys, if you get out there and find anything cool, get on the DependableFlame.com Facebook group. Show us what you found. We can all talk about it. Have some camaraderie over there on the Facebook group, as well as here on YouTube and in the live stream. I'm definitely a fan of at least this particular design of a Zoro lighter. You guys know what a fan I am of the Signuses, so in my mind I'm just going to call this the Zoro Cygnus. Until next time.